Tuesday. What a weird day. Ben went to go play racquetball and we got up late. Dove's making some cinnamon pancakes over here. What? Oh, cinnamon roll pancakes over here.
We got some really good cheese sandwich and tomato soup dipping going on here. It's the first day of the year, so we're like trying to be responsible YouTubers and look back at 2017? And we're gonna share 7 things that we learned, or 7 ways that we changed from last year. Number 1, no amount of approval will ever be enough. Looking back at the last 3 or 4 years, I can see how a lot of our life was structured around trying to get approval from people who we thought had power. And at some points it worked great. They loved us, they liked us, we were getting points, we were getting invited to functions, and at some point it all stopped. And we were like trying to get it back for a while, and like, oh, maybe we didn't do enough, so if we do more and listen more, and eventually I just realized there's like no amount where it's ever gonna feel like we're there, like we're done, like we've gotten enough approval from people who we give power to.
Number 2 is parenting doesn't need to be stressful.
I'm like so glad we have Rainier. Like, you know, we've been parenting now for 16 years and we get a new baby and it's so different from all of our other experiences. I feel like he's going through this stage that normally I would have just conceded, oh, having kids is stressful.
Or this stage,
this stage is hard.
Yeah.
Because he's crying, he's being demanding, he's like getting into things and getting into dangerous situations. But I just think my perspective of him is so different. I'm enjoying him so much more. I don't know, it's just like there's only so much space in your brain for a child. I feel like if you spend time stressing, that's taken away from time that you're spending enjoying. And now I'm spending so much time enjoying him that I almost don't have energy to be stressed out by him. I mean, we're still parenting him, but we're mostly just enjoying him. And I think it's the best parenting we can do.
The stressing out part, I realized actually came from us, not from the child. It came from where we were at and our maturity. And it's cool to see that. You know, I think it's easy to blame the kid and say, like, if you don't want to look at yourself, it's easy to blame the kid and say like, well, they're at a really hard stage, so that's why I'm really stressed out, or they have a certain type of temperament and that's why I'm really stressed out. But I think usually it's actually because the parent is not able to emotionally handle the kid.
So we're trying to fix them and change things, and that's an uphill battle. The stress is optional. Number 3, we don't want to be someone else's hero. A lot of our life has been spent, especially in spiritual communities, trying to be and present ourselves as being the type of person who we thought we ought to be and who other people should look up to. This could be a hero, or it could be a mentor, or it could be a leader. There's all sorts of like fancy words. But at the end of the day, I realized that turning any human into a hero, especially us, it just is creating this false image of who people think they want us to be. And we're even agreeing to that. We're saying, oh yeah, like, You know, a hero is not someone you can actually be buddies with at the end of the day, because to actually be buddies, you'd have to see who they really are, and that would mean that they're not your hero anymore. So creating a hero is actually creating distance based upon a false perception. And I used to think that was like worth it. You know, it's like, oh, it's worth it to be adored, to be looked up to be revered. But now I'm like, you know, f those things. I don't want to be revered or looked up to. I actually just want friends now, people that know who I am and then accept me.
Yeah.
And people who don't look up to me, but will just tell me,
they're not trying to extract some kind of their own value from you. I think being a hero to someone is a really lonely place. If all your friends are people who are looking up to you, you end up with no friends. Number 4 is we stopped trusting other people. It sounds really bad. We stopped trusting.
Happy New Year's. Well, I think before we just took people at face value, and there's all these people in our life that are like, oh, we love you, we're there for you, we're family.
Maybe we just stopped being so naive.
You know, it's not that they didn't mean what they're saying, but people are really just people at the end of the day, and they're always going to do what feels like it's in their best interests, in a way. And spiritual people are not an exception to that. Like, if they think that at some point, if it just costs too much or if they don't like you anymore, you know, they're probably not going to be hanging out with you. And actually, that's okay. But I think I listened to a lot of people's words before, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be there for you, so you're going to be there for me. But it's kind of like what you were saying at the last point. We saw a lot of people are just using us. Like, they were hanging out with us because it made them feel better about themselves for a time period. And I don't think there's like anything necessarily wrong with that, although I wish that we were more aware that that's what was actually happening. But we've done that with people. I don't think it's the best way to see a person, but there's a difference between that though and them actually loving you or being your friend or being there forever for you or being family.
It could be said that those people loved us in their own way, but it's not the kind of love that like is really helpful to us, I don't think, or endures or something. I don't know.
Along with that, we get number 5, which is we stop trusting ourselves. Everything that we're kind of saying happened to us, I think we've done to people too. We've told people, oh, we love you and care about you. When in reality, we've learned that our motives for hanging out with people are very mixed. And we hang out with people because it benefits us. Not just like directly, like we're making money off of it.
But it like feels good. It like feels good to hang out with this person, so I'm gonna hang out with them.
Yeah, both on like the hero side. We've had heroes and people that were trying to get their approval. So we're like, hey, we'll hang out with you and you make us like feel validated. And then on the other side, where we're kind of like helping someone, it feels loving because we're like, well, you don't have anything, so I'm gonna really help you and pour into you. But in a way, we're just using them to feel good about ourselves too, because I've seen that it's always been harder. Why does it smell like something's burning? It smells like burning wood, but like not the good kind. If we're only hanging out with people who we can help, in other words, people that make us feel more valuable, that's not really love either. And I think after enough broken relationships, we've had this like series of like checks and balances that we've introduced into our life this last year.
I know.
Where I'm like, hey, let's call up so-and-so and say, do all this stuff. And you're like, whoa, hang on there, Turbo. What is that? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I felt like I was going to save him. You know, my real motives came out.
Yeah, but it's like scary and kind of a pain in the ass because now every relationship, which we don't have very few right now, but the few relationships we do have, I'm like, oh crap, am I like turning this person into a hero, or is this person turning me into a hero and I'm trying to get some value out of that? Like recently Ben even just had that conversation with me about someone and I'm like, dang it, like I like I just wish it wasn't that way, you know. I just wish like what you see is what you get, but that's just not the kind of world we live in. Number 6 is losing your prized possession could be the best thing that could ever happen to you. For me, that was certain people's approval in my life, and really for me it was family, that they blatantly are not giving their approval to us anymore. I realized I was relying on that to make me feel like I'm okay, like I'm gonna be okay in this world, and somehow I'm valuable, I'm important. And to strip that away, it kind of left me with, I think, what's more real, like what actually is gonna make me okay and feel valuable. But it's like really painful when you lose something that precious to you.
The same thing has happened in a bit of a larger scale with our identity. We thought that we were like on the inside of this like church community Christian realm thing. I mean, we were like climbing the ladder, we were like getting invited on trips and concerts and being asked to speak at places and all these things. And then one day you like don't have it. And in fact, we were like kind of kicked out of certain circles. And I never would have chosen to be kicked out. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like terrible. This is the worst thing that can happen. And then once we're outside, I'm like, oh wow, I can't believe that we were living in this really narrow way of seeing the world, where it was like, oh, you have to follow our preferences, otherwise we're not gonna hang out with you. That's what we were doing to other people. And I don't know, I think we lost our identity. That was like my prized possession. But I think that's been the best thing that's happened to us this year, is now we're actually having to ask, what is our identity, if it's not from being in this little club?
Yeah.
Or getting the approval of this group.
Yeah.
But I never would have chosen that.
Right.
It's really scary at first.
But I would rather lose that identity, that like false identity and false value now at age 37 than like 67 realize, oh, I guess this isn't really where it's at.
Number 7 is growth happens. I was like doing all this editing for this 2017 rewind video. In fact, a lot of why we're doing this topic today was these were the things we weren't like really fully able to get into for that video. But I actually went into this video project feeling like nothing happened in 2017. I was like, this year was a year of pain for us. It literally was the hardest year of our life. It felt like a waste. It felt like we didn't produce much or get very far or do hardly anything of value. And then I start slogging through 12 months of footage, hundreds of hours worth of stuff. And I start seeing our story kind of from someone else's perspective. And actually it was like a bit embarrassing even to like, because I'm like, holy crap, I couldn't really get it less than 10 minutes without cutting out a bunch of stuff that I was like, well, this is actually what happened. Like, I'm not bragging about all the places we went, but it just stacks up. And I forget about it, and I feel like, oh, nothing's going on. And forget about like all the places we went and all the things that cost money, plane tickets and all these things. There was something else that was just really cool to look at, and it was just seeing 6 kids' birthdays. And we're like pretty at celebrating birthdays. Like, we don't like hire the reptile man or, you know, do amazing themed cakes or anything like that. So it's not about the birthday party, but just watching, you know, under our watch this last year, 6 kids turned a year older. That's like a miracle. You know, you can't buy that. You know, you can't stop it. You can't even make it go faster. So growth, it just happens. There's so much pressure for me to do things better and change the world and all these other like weird cliche sounding nonsense filler pressures that we create, that I think about. Like, one of my favorite videos of all time was this interview with Rich Mullins at Creation Fest in the 90s. he was like kind of blasting the media, the Christian media, and he said,
I'm not a big believer in God using people that much. What God has done in my life since I've been on the Navajo reservation is he's made me more aware of how quirky Middle Americans are and all people are. And when I was in Thailand, I met this missionary and I was talking about, I said, I just really want the Lord to use me. And she said, well, forget it. God doesn't need you for anything. God doesn't want to use you. He wants you to love him. And so that's really what I'm trying to do there. I think more than anything else is learn how to love him.
And I don't know, I feel like there's this giant project out there that God wants me to do, and he like needs me to do it, and I didn't like get as much done, so like productivity is low. Mm-hmm. But I guess it goes back to like the first or second point where it's just like, if you're stressing out, you're not enjoying your kid. And I feel like in terms of life, if I'm stressing out, I'm not able to just experience God's love and his approval of us.
And you think God's up there stressing out over us.
Yeah,
he's not.
Oh crap, 2017, I didn't get as much done as I thought because Ben slept in and didn't finish his book. Anyways, those were our top lessons. It'd be cool if in the comment section you guys would write the top things that you learned. I mean, it's cool for us to hear it, but I think it's also really cool to just take a moment. We had to, like, before this list, we're kind of like in a...
I'm like, I didn't learn anything.
Or were we in like a fight? Is that a fight? I don't think it was a fight.
No,
but it was high pressure.
We were working through some issues.
We didn't have this list 30 minutes ago. So we're like, hey, what did we actually learn? And I'm thankful for these things. We didn't know these things before 2017, and now we do. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's cool. We got to show you guys what's going on in the kitchen here. It's pretty delicious looking.
Eden, what are you making for dinner tonight?
Biscuits and gravy.
Can you say that a little louder?
Biscuits and gravy.
And because it's literally 5 degrees or something outside, Eden was being very innovative and she put the biscuits out here to chill before she bakes them. She's gonna cook this chicken sausage that we made as a part of the gravy. We're having other people over tonight, Ben's parents and Rachel and her kids.
All right, Eden, this looks really delicious. We got a lot of gravy and flaky biscuits. Look who's ready over here. Yum, 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 yum.
Someone who watches our vlog brought us some cookies. She lives around here. And even like frosting. It's amazing. We're just hanging out here in the living room where it's cozy. Probably gonna be maybe playing a game. Cozy fire here. All right. See you guys tomorrow.